Continuing on. I'm gonna start at verse 3. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Ashad, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Ashad from Jerusalem. Yeah, man. So, all these other nations are going to come unto, you know, us. You know what I'm saying? Because, because we're going to rule these nations with a rod of iron, man. You know what I'm saying? We're going to rule them with a rod of iron. They're going to, be required, to keep the law, statutes, and commandments still. You know what I'm saying? And not these, these idols that they have today. There's going to be no more, Buddha. There's going to be no more Christianity, no more, Allah, whatever. And, if they refuse, then they're going to, then they're going to suffer the consequences and be, we're going to use spiritual power, and they're going to see the magnitude and the force, and they just going to, submit. You know what I'm saying? Because, because these nations are not going to have, the second covenant. You know what I'm saying? They ain't going, they still going to be in their fleshly form, in their, their mortal, form. Israel's going to be, and just like Yahweh Shai, immortal, can never sin, can never go off. These nations are going to still be going off, man. And that's when, we gonna be that police force, so to speak, for the kingdom, and enforce the law upon the nations. Like it says in verse 3, and many people shall go and say, and come ye, let us go up to the mount of the Lord Yahweh Shemiah Shah, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord Yahweh Shemiah Shah from Jerusalem, and he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. You nations ain't gonna, be fighting back. You're just gonna submit, man. You're gonna try to fight back, for a certain period of time, and then, at a certain point, you're just gonna come to the conclusion, like, man, we can't, we can't beat these, these people, man. They're chosen. They're chosen by Yahweh, by Shemiah Shai. They're the chosen people. They're too powerful. So they're gonna, be bringing in, gifts, all year round, man. Okay, I get that. Wait no second. Yeah. I'm gonna start at verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring upon thee the forces of the Gentiles, that the kings may be brought. I'm gonna skip down a couple of verses. In verse 16, thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shalt suck the breasts of kings, and thou shalt know that I, the Lord, Yahweh Shemi Ashar, thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. All the riches that these, which, you know what I'm saying, they belong to us to begin with, anyways, because, at the end of the day. But, all these riches that these nations have, these kings, these world leaders, they're going to be bringing them forth onto us, man, once again, man. Like the top of the top, you know what I'm saying, riches, top of the top, gifts, everything, you know what I'm saying, that you know what I'm saying, they got to offer from anything, man, fucking precious stones, precious spices, precious women, fine women, you know what I'm saying, the finest of their daughters, in bulks, fucking livestock, precious livestock, anything with the earth can yield to offer that they have in their possession as precious. They're gonna, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna be hoarding it over unto us, man. You know what I'm saying? Because we're gonna be ruling on top forever. Gonna go back to Isaiah 14. Slugging. We can do Isaiah 14. So. Slugging. This is Isaiah 49. So verse 22. Then thus said the Lord Yahweh, behold, I lift up mine hand to the Gentiles, and set up my standard to the people, and they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders, and kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh Shemi Ashar, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me, man. That's the Lord, man. The Lord gonna make this happen, man. The Lord is gonna make this happen, man. He gonna make these, I'm saying, these nations serve us, man. He gonna make these nations serve us. I'm saying, the time has come, man. God, this is Isaiah 14. For the Lord Yahweh Shemi Ashar will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Now this right here, it's talking about, the strangers is talking about right here in Isaiah 14. It's talking about, actual Jake, the confusion of faces. You gonna have Jake, because the scripture's talking about how Jake is a speckled bird. You got, Jake is scattered throughout the whole entire planet. You got Israelites that look like Edomites, that may look like, Chinese, that look like, that look like Arabs, that look like, all type of people, man. That look like Taiwanese or whatever. You're gonna have all type of Israelites. And and whoever the elect may be, they gonna, they're scattered throughout the world, and they're being gathered. You know what I'm saying? And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them, and the land of the Lord Yahweh shall for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were. They shall rule over their oppressors. It shall come to pass in that day, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from thy hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. Verse 4, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor seized the golden city, seized the Lord Yahweh have broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. You know what I'm saying? So Lord is going to give us rest from our sorrow, man. He gives rest from our sorrows, man. And we're going to take captives of our oppressors, whose captives that we were, because we were captives, under our oppressors, man. And time will come to where, it's gonna flip around, man. In Revelations, if I get it. It's like, this is Revelation 13, chapter 13, verse 10. He that leaveth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And here's the patience and the faith of the saints, man. And you know what I'm saying? We're able to see, this time manifest, man. Very soon, man. Everything is falling in line. All we gotta do is just, continue to remain patient, man. This is the Wisdom of Solomon. I'm gonna read this real quick. Chapter 6, verse verse 20. Therefore the desire of wisdom bringeth forth to a kingdom. Fear the light be then in thrones and scepters, O ye kings of the people. Honor wisdom that ye may reign forevermore. That's the main point that I want to bring out. But I believe there's another precept I want to bring out, but it's not coming to mind. Come, man. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much the main points that I want to bring up for this lesson. But I pray and hope that your brothers and sisters are satisfied. Until next time, I say so.